Hello, guys. I want to first of all say thank you to everyone that watched the first video, which was aimed at raising awareness of bowel cancer in young people. Thank you so much. Thank you for getting the message across. Continue to do it. And if you are yet to watch it, then please do. And do share your experiences. I'll be happy to hear them. And please do share the video with other people. We need to do our bit. Okay. So today I just wanted to share some figures with you really on why bowel cancer diagnosis is quite delayed in young people. Of course, because people are young, often when you're young, you're fit, you're well, you might not necessarily display any symptoms, but also sometimes because we are young, we might attribute our symptoms to something else, or we might not even take it seriously, or we might not want to go and see a doctor. But there was a recent survey that was done by Bowel Cancer UK, which I wanted to just share some of those findings with you because that will bring it closer home, because this survey was done on patients, so on people in the community, in the nation who have been diagnosed with bowel cancer under the age of 50. So young people, okay, who have been affected by bowel cancer. And these are some of the salient points that came out of that survey. Now, the survey involved 1,295 people. So that was a significant number of people that responded to the survey, okay? And the first point that came out was that a third of patients delayed going to see their doctor for at least 3 months, despite the fact that they were having persistent symptoms. So this proportion of patients had symptoms, yet they did not see their doctor until 3 months into the symptoms before. So there was that delay of going to see a doctor, okay? They also find out from that survey that a third of patients were unaware of what bowel cancer symptoms are. So they did not know what to look out for. And I think, a lot of us may fall guilty or probably fall into this category. Often people, and I as a doctor see that a lot. You see patients and they present with their symptom, even though you are seeing them for the first time. When you actually take a bit more detail, it's transpired that they've had the symptoms for several months before they're coming to see a doctor. And sometimes it might be because they never attributed that symptom to that, that it was something to worry about. They probably thought they were tired because they've been working too hard, or, they've not been looking after themselves. That's why. So that might be the reason why. Then 75% of these patients did not believe they had bowel cancer. Yeah. So even though they had the symptoms, they did not believe that they had bowel cancer. Despite the fact that, 75% of these people had bleeding from the back passage. Yeah, they were having bleeding from the back passage, yet they thought it was not bowel cancer. Maybe they thought it was something else. I've had patients who say because I ate some spicy food, that is why, okay? And probably not the reason why. 52% of these people also had a change in bowel habit. Okay, so when we say a change in bowel habit is that when you get a change from what is usual for you. So some people normally they go open their bowel daily, or alternate days, or whatever is regular for you. But when you notice a sudden change in what is regular for you, and you've not changed nothing much about your lifestyle, is pretty much the same, and you're having a change in your bowel habit. It could be constipation. Yeah, new onset constipation that is persistent. It could be new onset diarrhea, which is persistent. It could be loose motions, which is persistent, but it's a change in what is normal to you. So this is a red flag, okay? This is a concern, to be something to be worried about. Then what the statistics also found out that 4 in 10 patients visited their doctor 3 times or more, right, before a test was being offered. Now, so obviously this video is not just for you as an individual listening, but also it might be even beneficial for healthcare professionals like myself who actually see patients that may have symptoms. But sometimes because the patient is young, we might not necessarily attribute their symptoms to, we don't worry initially. Yeah. We normally, as a doctor, you see a 50-year-old with rectal bleeding, your alarm bells go off. But you might see that same symptom in a 20-year-old and you might not not think so. But like I said in the first video, that actually the pattern has changed. We're having more younger people being affected by cancer. Okay, so as clinicians, as healthcare professionals who come in contact with patients presenting with some of the symptoms, we need to be more alert now. The other thing that the survey found out was that 3/4 of patients were diagnosed with another condition such as Bowel or irritable bowel syndrome before cancer diagnosis was made. So once again, this is about healthcare professionals, okay? So really, everybody has a part to play when it comes to cancer diagnosis, when it comes to us picking up cancer early, because earlier diagnosis means earlier chances of cure, okay? Treatments are more efficient and more likely to give us better outcomes if we pick it up early. The other thing that was picked up was that 1 in 4 patients were diagnosed as an emergency. So they had presented maybe to A&E with a bowel obstruction, which means that the cancer has really advanced, because now the tumor has become so big that it's now obstructing the colon, okay, the bowel. And that's why they've ended up as an emergency in hospital. The statistics also picked up that only 22% had been asked about family history of bowel cancer. So this is another risk factor. I mean, I will do another video on risk factors, okay? But this is really to give you some statistics of recent studies. This survey was actually done just pre-COVID, okay? COVID-19, before COVID-19, it was done. It has been done within the last few months, okay? And this is the shocking findings that were coming out to explain some of the reasons why we are not diagnosing bowel cancer much earlier in young people, even though it's now a very common problem, okay? So only 22% had been asked, about family history of bowel cancer. So anyone that has a family history of anything really, if you watch any of my videos, I normally say that once you have a family history of anything, your risk of that thing is also greater compared to the general population, okay? And that even applies to diabetes, applies to high blood pressure, it applies to cancer, it applies to any long-term condition really. And the closer that family member is to you, so your mom, your dad, your parents, your siblings, the closer they are to you in terms of family, then the higher the risk, okay? And then obviously the risk gets less and less as the person is more of a distant family member. It says nearly half of patients that were diagnosed with bowel cancer after 2017 had not been offered testing for Lynch syndrome. So there's a condition called Lynch syndrome, which is related to genetics, okay? So anybody that has the gene for Lynch syndrome, their risk of bowel cancer is actually 80%, is so much greater. So often, really, people that have been diagnosed with bowel cancer should be tested for this gene as well to see if that risk is there, because it means that other family members may be at risk and then they might need to be tested as well. Okay, so if you are listening to this or watching this video and you have a family member that is affected by bowel cancer, then you might need to seek some advice from your doctor as well. It says 40% of patients felt they did not have adequate access to fertility and family planning information. Of course, cancer can be life-changing, okay? It can affect people in so many ways. And particularly when people are diagnosed with cancer, they might have to have some form of intervention, whether radiation, whether chemotherapy, whether surgery, and that can have impact on other functions of the body. So for women, for example, it might affect their fertility. For men, it might affect their fertility as well. And so often these are things that need to be discussed and plans made, because women, it might be that before they start their chemotherapy, their ovaries may need to be harvested and saved for them, for future when they want to have children. So these are some of the things that need to be thought of. But as you can see, these are things that we can work through, right? Now we know that, bowel cancer is very common in young people. Okay, so be aware of that alone. And being aware means that when you have symptoms, do not ignore, because a large proportion, the reason why there were delayed diagnoses was because they had symptoms, but they were not seeking help on time. They were waiting 3 months after to see. Cancer does not sit down and wait till when you have made up your mind, okay? When cancer is there, it's growing and it's growing and it's growing and it's beginning to invade into other structures, okay? But if we can catch it early when it's localized to wherever it is, then treatment is much, much better. But if cancer has already spread to other structures, it becomes difficult, okay? Because the treatment that are available, though, you know, we are doing great in terms of medical treatments, but we still don't have all the answers. So as always, prevention is always better than cure. So it's better to, when you notice symptoms, to act to it and get the help you need than to ignore it till when it's too late. And this comes to not just bowel cancer, to every cancer, to breast cancer, to liver cancer, to lung cancer, to any form of cancer. When you see symptoms, the key here is persistence of symptoms. If you have symptoms and it's not changing, the question is, why is it not changing? Why is it not going away? Because thankfully, our body can cope a lot of the time with things. But if something is carrying on for so long, you need to be asking that question and you need to be proactive. So I hope you've learned. Please share this video with other people. Thank you so much.